Attention passionate Philadelphia, EAGLES FANS. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Philadelphia Eagles' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Philadelphia Eagles fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with YOUR, FRINDS and Philadelphia, EAGLES FANS. Let's get to the news. Now folks, let's talk about what's been happening in the offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles. The team, as everyone knows, is coming off an incredible 2023 campaign. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, falling just short of the Super Bowl. But the overall feeling around the team is one of optimism, determination, and a clear goal. Bring home that second Lombardi trophy in a relatively short span. And of course, the Eagles are not resting on their laurels. No, sir. They're making strategic moves, shuffling the roster, and trying to tighten up every detail that could make or break their chances in 2024. One thing to keep in mind is that the Eagles haven't been particularly active on the waiver wire this preseason, but that doesn't mean they haven't been busy. In fact, they've made some key trades and roster moves aimed at bolstering their depth and flexibility, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Recently, they added wide receiver John Metchie III, a move that signals their intention to strengthen their receiving core, especially considering the injuries and competition for spots. Metchie, coming from Alabama, has shown flashes of talent, and even though he's been fighting to stay healthy, the Eagles see him as a potential game changer, especially in the red zone and on third downs. But that's not all. After acquiring Metchie, the Eagles decided to part ways with Giles Jackson, a young receiver who had a brief but promising stint with Philadelphia. Jackson, undrafted in 2025, had limited opportunities during the preseason, but managed to make a couple of receptions for 9 yards and contributed on special teams. His release was strategic, opening the door for the team to add some much-needed depth at linebacker. And that's where things get really interesting. The Eagles announced they had signed Chance Campbell, a linebacker with a lot to prove, especially after battling injuries that have hampered his career since he left Ole Miss in 2022. Now, Campbell's signing isn't just about filling a roster spot, it's about what he brings to the table. He reunites with his former linebacker coach, which can only help him settle into the system quicker. Right now, Nakobe Dean is dealing with a torn patellar tendon, which has left the Eagles a little thin at linebacker. So, Campbell's addition is strategic, giving them a reliable option to plug into the starting lineup if needed. Let's talk a bit more about Campbell because his story is quite compelling. He's dealt with injuries throughout his career, placed on injured reserve in 2022, which cut his rookie season short, then bouncing between the active roster and practice squad in 2023, before a torn ACL in training camp this year ended his season once again. It's been a roller coaster, but he's shown resilience. His return to health and his ability to perform in the final preseason game are crucial for the Eagles, not just for this season, but for the rest of the NFL to see if he's truly recovered and ready to contribute at a high level. Now, here's something to consider. Campbell's signing might also be linked to his familiarity with the Eagles' defensive coordinator, as well as his potential upside. The Eagles are clearly trying to build a linebacker room that can withstand the rigors of a long NFL season, especially with key players like Dean and others recovering from injuries. By adding Campbell, they're not just filling a roster spot. They're investing in a player with talent, who, if healthy, can provide immediate impact and depth. When we look at the roster construction, it's clear that the Eagles are trying to strike a balance between experience, youth, and health. They currently have about 12 wide receivers, which is quite a lot, but they're expected to trim that down to around 6 on the 53-man roster come cut day. Some of those players will likely find a spot on the practice squad after waiver claims, giving the team flexibility and depth for the regular season. Giles Jackson was part of that group, and even though his contribution was modest, he's still part of a larger picture of roster evaluation. The final preseason game is always an interesting snapshot of where a team stands, and Campbell's participation in that game was not just about giving him some reps, it was an audition. It's the NFL, folks, and every snap counts. The coaching staff is looking at his health, his performance, and his fit within the defense. If he impresses, he could be a key piece for the Eagles in the upcoming season, especially during those crucial moments when depth and versatility are tested. What's fascinating about these roster moves is how they reflect the Eagles' overall strategy. They're not just trying to patch holes, they're building a team that can compete at the highest level, even if injuries strike or unexpected challenges arise. The addition of Campbell, a player with a resilient story and a lot of upside, shows that the Eagles are committed to maintaining their competitive edge. They're also aware that the NFL is a league where injuries happen, and having versatile, motivated players ready to step in can make all the difference between a deep playoff run or an early exit. Now, let's look at the broader context of the Eagles' season. They've got a talented roster, no doubt. Jalen Hurts continues to develop as a quarterback, showing leadership and explosiveness that make him one of the most exciting players in the league. The offensive line remains strong, and the running game, led by players like Devonta Smith and other emerging talents, is poised to be even more dynamic. On defense, the team made significant improvements last year, and with key players like Campbell coming into the fold, the unit looks even more formidable. But the big question is, can the Eagles sustain their high level of play over 17 games and into the playoffs? That's where roster depth, health, and coaching come into play. The addition of Campbell might seem minor in the grand scheme, but in reality, it's a piece of a much larger puzzle. The Eagles are clearly aiming to build a squad that can handle the grind of an NFL season, especially with the stakes higher than ever. Their focus on linebacker depth, combined with the strategic release of Giles Jackson to open roster spots, shows a calculated approach to roster management that could pay off big time come postseason. And speaking of postseason, the Eagles' goal is crystal clear. They want to not only make the playoffs but to go deep, to finally bring a Lombardi back to Philadelphia after such a long wait. The NFC is highly competitive, with teams like the 49ers, Cowboys, and Lions all vying for supremacy, but Philly has the talent, the coaching, and the hunger to be at the top. They've got a balanced team, a solid core, and now, with moves like signing Campbell, they're reinforcing their roster to handle whatever challenges come their way. It's also worth noting that the NFL landscape is always shifting, and teams that adapt quickly often find themselves ahead of the curve. The Eagles, with their smart roster moves and strategic signings, are positioning themselves as serious contenders once again. They understand that every game counts, every snap matters, and having versatile players like Campbell ready to step in can be the difference in tight matchups down the stretch. So, as we look ahead to the regular season, what can fans expect? Well, the Eagles are showing that they're not just resting on their laurels. They're actively working to improve, to stay healthy, and to ensure that their roster is as deep and talented as possible. The addition of Campbell isn't just about filling a position, it's about sending a message to the league that the Eagles are committed to winning now and in the future. They're building a team that can overcome adversity, that can adapt, and that can dominate when it matters most. And for us fans, that's incredibly exciting. Every move, every signing, every roster decision is a piece of the puzzle that brings us closer to another potential Super Bowl victory. The excitement is palpable, and the anticipation is only growing as we inch closer to the season opener. The Eagles are setting the stage for what could be another thrilling chapter in their storied history, and I, for one, can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YOUTUBE algorithm to keep recommending the latest Philadelphia Eagles news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. So to wrap up, this roster move might seem small in the grand scheme of things, but it's a strategic piece in the Eagles' puzzle. With Campbell rejoining the team, the Eagles are sending a strong message about their focus on health, depth, and readiness for the grind of the NFL season. Fans should be optimistic because, with every step they take, the Eagles are making it clear they're serious about contending, and they're not leaving anything to chance. And now, Philadelphia Eagles fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this move? Do you think Campbell will make a real impact this season? Are you confident in the team's depth and strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Eagles. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Philadelphia Eagles news. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and as always, go Birds.